So 100 days to go. How are you feeling about Team GB's prospects?
This is going to be the most amazing Olympics. I know there's all these political issues knocking around, but we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that in 100 days, we've got the most exciting Olympic Games happening on our doorstep in the most beautiful city with the most beautiful venues, with hundreds of thousands of Team GB fans crossing the channel to go and support our team. And I want everyone to feel the excitement, because in this building, we're ready to go, we're prepared, we've got the best preparation camps we've ever had, we've got the best high performance centre for the Games time. The athletes are doing incredibly well all around the world.
So what's the target in terms of medals for this Olympics?
We are very keen to be in the top 5 of the medal table like we have been for the last few Olympics, and that's our real stated ambition.
Do you think other sports should follow athletics and pay medalists?
I think what wasn't great about the announcement last week is when one sport goes off and does something on their own, doesn't include the other sports, doesn't include the IOC, doesn't include the National Olympic Committees, they create a problem, because now other sports are clearly going to get some scrutiny or even pressure from athletes saying, well, what about us? How can this sport do it and not us? And I think it's a debate that we can have, but we all need to have it at the right time and in the right place. And together, the wonderful thing about the Olympic Games is it brings all these different sports and all elements of the Olympic family together. And I think that's how you need to navigate these issues. I don't think it's particularly appropriate or helpful for one sport just to announce that.
Does it risk creating a two-tier Olympics?
It doesn't, but it's a danger of doing that. I mean, because it's such a small number and it's only gold medalists, I don't think it does that yet, but there is clearly a risk of that, and we don't want that to happen.
Is there an argument for the whole ethos and essence of the Games that no one should be paid, or is there a long-term...
I think that's a debate to have. I don't want to make a judgment on that today, but I think there is a debate to have. But we have to acknowledge that there are professional sports taking place in the Olympics. Football's in it, tennis is in it, golf's in it. There are professional sports with highly paid athletes. So I think this debate will not go away. I think it's a sensible debate to have. But as I say, at the right time, in the right manner, and in a much more inclusive way, I think that's the right way to do it, take it forward.
I suppose in a way that it's only gold medalists as well this time in athletics.
That feels even worse. I mean, because you could argue that they're the guys who've already, got enough and are getting paid well, and we want to make sure it's inclusive.
One hugely divisive issue, the government yesterday had the sports in to discuss the transgender eligibility policy.
Yeah.
How much a challenge, an issue is that for you?
We haven't yet had a trans athlete nominated. I'm not sure we're going to get one now. The way the IOC are managing this is that they're asking the international federations to come up with rules that are appropriate for their sport. In some cases, I think if you take triathlon and even cycling, the national governing body in the UK has implemented rules that are even stricter than their international federations. So our number one concern is to protect the women's category. Right? We play in a world where there's men's sport and women's sport. We have to make sure that women's category is protected. That's our starting point. We know that in the broader context, we also have to be sympathetic and embrace diversity and make sure that people feel included and not victimised in any way. But we have to protect that women's category. We haven't, as I said, had any trans athletes nominated to us, so it's not been an issue that we as an organisation have yet had to address. But we will be very clear, we have to protect the women's category, and we can't create an imbalance or unfairness in that.
So you would veer to a potential BOA position, which is women's sport should only be for those who are female at birth?
Yeah, I mean, the general accepted position seems to be, if you have gone through puberty as a male, you have an inherent advantage for the rest of your life.
Are you okay now with Russian and Belarusian athletes competing as neutrals in Paris?
Yeah, I mean, we have said for many months now that we're happy with the IOC's position. We thought it was sensible from day one. We thought that, as long as they are truly neutral, and I think what we saw in Tokyo, the Russian athletes weren't neutral. They were there in everything but name. The kit design was Russian, everything. Now, I'm very confident they will be there as neutrals, the Russian and Belarusian athletes. I also feel that the restrictions in terms of no military personnel, no one who supported the conflict publicly, having those restrictions around means that you are getting proper neutrality. And I think now it's time to move on from that debate. I think the IOC have stated their position for several months. Everyone's fallen in behind it. There aren't going to be that many Russian and Belarusian athletes compared to previous Olympics. I mean, there were 400 Russian athletes in Tokyo. There's probably going to be no more than 60 in Paris. So you could argue that the filtering system has worked. I think our government has finally fallen in line, which is helpful. And then So now, yeah, I think we go there knowing that the neutrality will be properly respected. I think it's important as well that we look after the Ukrainian athletes. They've obviously gone through a lot, and we have to be aware of what they're going through. And sometimes you can't please everyone and make everything work together, but I think we've come up with the best possible solution. So I'm confident going to Paris that this issue is now being managed. Clearly, you know, having a war going on is sad and tragic, and we don't want that to continue, but there's nothing we can do about that. But I think we've come up with the best solution.
What are the Team GB rules on protests? I mean, a very heated geopolitical environment at the moment. We see a lot of Palestinian activism.
Yeah.
The war is raging on. Do you have any viewpoint in terms of anything you tell the athletes?
It's one thing we ask is that they respect their fellow athletes. If it's a moment when you're on the podium and sharing that podium with other athletes, we ask that you don't tarnish that moment for other people. And so it's all about mutual respect.
How concerned are you about security in Paris?
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned. It's one of the most important things that we have to manage from a risk perspective. We'd be naive if we weren't thinking about that.
It's a very ambitious opening ceremony. Are you concerned about this opening ceremony being in the open air?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows that that is clearly a risky environment. If you've got 320,000 people ultimately spectating out on the streets of Paris, that is a high-risk environment, and that's got to be managed accordingly. But the French are very, very aware of that. You know, there are a number of soldiers, police already on the streets of France, and that will increase.
Are there security processes that you're going through with the athletes to particularly prepare them for Paris to be safe and to be watching out, knowing that sadly France has been hit by terror attacks?
Yeah, it has, and we will be educating athletes. We'll be educating the whole party. I think that's really important.
CJ Uja has created a huge debate. Obviously, he cost Team GB a medal in Tokyo. Is it right he's going to be participating in Paris?
Well, he's not definitely right. I mean, we have to wait to see if he's actually nominated as part of the team. I think we made no secret of the fact we were really disappointed about what happened in Tokyo. For us to lose a medal in Olympic Games isn't what we want. It's not what we're about. And we're as tough on doping as anyone. We often point the finger at other countries and accuse them of not taking the doping system seriously. So when it happens to us, we need to take it on the chin and do something about it. You know, CJ Uja was contrite at the time. I think he as an individual needs to prove that he's got beyond this, that he's helping to educate other people, because athletes have to be individually responsible for what they put in their own bodies. That's important. He let everyone down by what he did in Tokyo, without a doubt. So he now needs to go a step further than everyone else in proving that he's beyond that he's actually helping other people address the issues that he created.